All right, so in the last video, we went over how to factor a trinomial. Trinomial means it has three terms where the leading coefficient was 1. So meaning the number in front of your x squared, your n squared, your x squared, your a squared, your w squared, your x squared, even though this one was out of order, m squared and a squared. All of those were just plain variable squared. That's it, right? When that happens, it's pretty easy. You just find the two numbers that multiply to your last number but add up to your middle number, and then you put them in the parentheses and you're done. Simple. But what if it's not 1? What if it's other than 1? That's much, much trickier. All right, so what you're going to need to do is, it doesn't multiply to 12 and add to 20. What you do is a times c. Right? So a times c. A was your leading coefficient. Because remember, here, let me put it out here. The general form is ax squared, oopsie. Hold on. F of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the general form. Okay? This is a quadratic, but the same idea is going to hold if it's not quadratic, you'll see. Okay? So the general form is this. Okay. Now, if that's the case, what I'm going to do for my product is I need a times c, which in this case is 3 times 7, or excuse me, times 12, which is 36. Okay, so I need a number that multiplies to 36, but it's going to add to b, and b is 20, just like before. So the summing part isn't any different. So up here, we had to add up to that middle term. That middle term was -9, no troubles. But here, 1 times 90 is 90, where 1 times -90 is negative 90. So that worked out. Here, on this one, I've got a much trickier proposition because I got to take 3 times 12. So I got to take my a in front of my leading coefficient and my constant, 12, and I got to multiply them. So I need numbers that multiply to 36, but they're going to add up to 20. Okay, so let me underline that 36 just so you can see it. So this is what you're going to have to multiply to. Hold on, just trying to simplify your life here. Okay, so I need numbers that multiply to 36 but add to 20. All right, so what are some numbers that multiply to 36? 1 and 36. Well, that would make 37 for some, so that's not good. 2 and 18. That makes 20. There it is. Well, that was quick. I was talking it all up about how tricky it was. All right, so you're going to figure out what numbers multiply to a times c, right? And then add up to b. Then, once you find them, you're not just going to substitute in the parentheses and be done. It doesn't work like that. Not when the coefficient's other than 1. You're going to have to use grouping. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 and the 18, and you take your 20, this one right here, 20x, and you're going to break it up into two pieces. You're going to make 20x 2x plus 18x, what you found in that little table below. Like that. Okay, so you're going to go 3x squared plus 2x plus 18x plus 12. Now that you're here, that's 4 terms, yes? Yes, right? So you're going to say, okay, well, it's 4 terms, and to factor 4 terms, I know how to do that. I do factoring by grouping, which is why we practice that. So you say, okay, x goes into the first two, and let's see what goes into the back two. 6, right? 6 goes into both of those. So if I take x out of the first one, that leaves me 3x plus 2. If I take 6 out of the back one, that leaves me 3x plus 2. Nice. Because we got to have them be the same, otherwise it won't work. So that means I take a 3x plus 2 out. When you factor 3x plus 2 out of that first term, all that's left is an x plus a 6. And there you go. Okay, so hold on. Let me type up what we did. Hold on one sec. There we go. We broke up the middle term, and then we factored by grouping. The tricky part is, what do you break up the middle term in? And that's the a times c thing right down here. A times c made 36, and then you figure out which one of those sums to 20. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, what about if you could just see it? What if you could just figure it out that it was 3x plus 2 and x plus 6? To which I say, fine, go right ahead. You'd have to ask your instructor. I mean, if your instructor wants to show work, there's nothing really to show there. So, but if you want a foolproof method that will never let you down, that will always work regardless of your sense of numbers, then this method is it, right? Because what we're doing here wasn't relying on your strength of your numbering, right? It was relying on an algorithm, if you will, like a method. And the method will always be correct. So if you're stuck and you don't know what else to do, this method will work for you. There you go. Okay? All right, let's do it again. So for letter B, we're going to rearrange it first. So put the 10x squared in front, then the x, then the 24. We want it to be in this general form here, where the x squared's in front, then the x is next, and then the number. Okay, so I need numbers that'll multiply to a times c is, in this case, 10 times negative 24, which is negative 240. Hello, problems. Okay, so there's all sorts of ones that'll do this. So there's 1 and negative 240. That makes negative 239. That's no good. 2 and negative 120. That makes negative 118. No good. 3 and negative 80. That makes negative, let's see, negative 77. Right? That's no good to us. 4 and negative 60, that makes negative 54. We're getting somewhere. Oh, by the way, what are we trying to sum to? I forgot to even say it, but we're trying to sum to b, and b in this case is 1, because it's plain x in the front, right, or in the middle, excuse me, 1x. So I want to make a b of 1. All right, sorry, 5 negative 48 makes negative 43. Let's see, 6 goes into 240. Negative 40 times, that makes negative 34. 7 doesn't go into 240. 8 goes into 240, negative 30 times, that makes negative, let's see, 22. And let's see, 9 doesn't go in. 10 goes in. 10 goes in negative 24 times, that would make negative 14. Let's see, 12 will go in negative 20 times, that would make negative 8. Ugh, this is getting ridiculous. And 15 will go in negative 16 times, which would make a sum of, 15, negative 16, which make negative 1. There we go, negative 1, that's close. So to make ours work, we want negative 15, positive 16. That will make positive 1. All of that, right, to find that number. Now, you can spot them possibly. Here's a hint. When you have a sum number that's small like that for the middle, then you're better off not starting off at the ones. You're better off starting at the ones that are really close to each other, like 15 and 16, and working your way backwards. Just a little hint to you. I actually have to delete some of these because I can't possibly fit all this here. I won't make them go away. I'll make them really small font because we got to fit all this stuff in here. All right, so we found 15, negative 15, positive 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up that middle 1x right there. And instead of writing it as x, I'm going to write negative 15x plus 16x. That's what we're going to do. So you write 10x squared minus 15x plus 16x, take away 24. From here, we factor by grouping. You look at the first two terms. They both have 5x. So we can take a 5x out of those. And then we look at the back two terms, and they both are going to have, let's see, an 8. So we can take an 8 out. Okay, so that leaves us with, let's see, 5x comes out, leaves you 2x minus 3. And then 8 comes out, that leaves you 2x minus 3. Okay, so that means we have 2x minus 3, and we have 5x plus 8. All right, there we go. All done. Just for my sanity, I got to change that just a little bit so that way it fits on the page. All right, next one. And again, if you're the kind of student that can kind of figure that out with perhaps out all that work, so be it. However, this work will mean you will always know whether something was factorable or not. It will never let you down. It might be tedious, but it won't let you down. All right, so let's do the next one. Product is going to be a times c, which is 12 times negative 5, which is negative 60. So I've got to multiply to negative 60, but I've got to add to b equals 4, negative 4, excuse me. Okay. And again, you're having to do all this work because your leading coefficient isn't 1. The leading coefficient in this problem is 12. That makes your life a lot more miserable. All right, so let's try 1 and 60. Although, honestly, we can tell because it's 4 that it's probably much closer together than that, but that's okay. All right, 2 and negative 30 would be negative 28. 3 and negative 20 would be negative 17. 4 and negative 15 would be negative 11. And then 5 and negative, well, let's see, 5 doesn't go into 6. Oh, yeah, 5 must go into 60 12 times, right? 5 and 12 makes negative 7. That's not good. And 6 and negative 10. That makes negative 4. There it is. Now, if you can find the right combo off the bat, more power to you. I'm going through all the different combinations so you can see how to find it no matter what. But if you could see right off the bat that it's got to be 6 and 10, then fine, make it 6 and 10. Okay, so this term right here, we're going to break it up. So instead of, it's going to be 12a squared, and then it was 6 and 10, right? So plus 6a minus 10a minus 5. You're taking this middle term right here, and you're separating it into the two numbers you came up with, which is 6a minus 10a, right? Plus 6a. There you go. That's what you're doing, right? You're taking your middle term and you're breaking it into pieces. So you've got 4 terms. And then we will factor by grouping. So we will look at the first 2 terms and think, okay, they both have a 2a. So I can take 2a out of them. And the back 2 terms both have a minus 5. So I can take a minus 5 out of them. So that leaves me 2a, and then, oh, 6a. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? I have to go for the biggest thing, 6a. 6a comes out. That leaves you 2a plus 1. And then a minus 5 comes out. That leaves you 2a plus 1. Beautiful. So that means we have 2a plus 1. And then if we take 2a plus 1 out, that's 6a minus 5 in the back. There we go. And I had to set up a little bit here so we can fit it all onto the page for the next problem. Okay, so let's see here. We got 4 times 18. 4 times 18 makes 72. So I need a product of 72, but I need to add up to negative 27 on this one. All right, so let's see. 1 and 72. Oh, to make it negative, though, it's going to be negative. Negative 1, negative 72. That would make negative 73. That's no good. Negative 2 and negative 36 would make negative 38. Negative 3 and negative 24 would make negative 27. Oh, there it is. Negative 27. Awesome. Okay, so now we've got our combo. So we're going to take our middle term of negative 27, ax in this one. It's a little trickier. And we're going to break it up into the numbers we just found. So instead of negative 27, I'm going to write it as minus 3ax minus 24ax. Okay, so that's going to be 4x squared minus 3ax minus 24ax plus 18a squared. Okay, now I need to make it so these two are grouped together. Hold on one sec. There we go. I grouped together these first 2. They both have an x. I grouped together the back 2, but notice how the sign's different. So I've got a minus and then a plus. So that means I'm going to take out a minus 6a, right? Because 6 goes into both of those, and a has both of them. All right, so when we do this, we're taking x out, leaves you 4x, take away 3a. Then we have a minus 6a, and that leaves you 4x, excuse me, take away 3a. Perfect. So then that means we have 4x minus 3a times x minus 6a. And there's our final result. All right, now we know how to factor when it's a trinomial, when the leading coefficient is not 1. When it is 1, super easy. When it's not 1, you have to do this a times c business, then find the sum to be equal to b, break up your middle term, and then factor by grouping.